But I now have the honor to introduce the next speaker, who is Peter Proof. Peter Proof, Director of International Affairs of the World Council of Churches. He is Australian of origin, educated by Queensland University, and has a huge experience in working for many international causes. In his present role, he is a real globe-trotter with a big carbon footprint, of course. But that is the dilemma of many of us. But he is doing his best to even it out by doing his best to join us in action to preserve the earth. He will now talk about the World Council of Churches and the priorities of our organization.
Dear Bishop Agnes, Honourable Minister Ólafsdóttir, Honourable Mayor Ólafsson, Excellencies, Eminences, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers, I present to you greetings, very warm greetings, from the General Secretary of the World Council of Churches, Reverend Dr. Olaf Fixer-Tveit, and from the leadership of the Central Committee, which is, as we meet here, meeting in Nairobi to prepare the next steps of the governing body of the World Council of Churches. Reverend Tveit very much regrets not being here with us in person. It's an issue that is very dear to his heart, and he wished me especially to present his special greetings and special expression of support for the purposes of this conference, its outcomes and its follow-up. I want to particularly thank Bishop Agnes and Reverend Gunnar for enabling us to meet here in this country and in this place to hold this conference and to have the discussions that we will have. My own very personal appreciation must be expressed to the local preparatory committee that has worked so hard to bring this event about, and in particular to our brothers Einar Karl, Gunnþór, and Þorvaldur for the work that you have done and the vision that you articulated and that we now see being realized in this gathering. We are honored, I must say, as World Council of Churches, and delighted that His All Holiness Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew I has been able to accept the invitation to come and speak at the Arctic Circle Assembly as a keynote speaker during the next days. I think that His All Holiness is, as we all know, one of the most powerful and persuasive voices from among the ecumenical movement in addressing issues of environment and climate change. So I am personally very grateful that he was able to take up this responsibility on all our behalves. I'm also grateful to President Ólafur Ragnar Grímsson for his evident interest and desire to engage the voice of faith in the multi-sectoral discussions of the Arctic Circle Assembly, and for the invitation and facilitation that he has extended to us for these purposes. Indeed, it's a strategic opportunity, this conference and the discussions we will have, to enable us to present the voice of faith, to bring the presence of the faith community into the Arctic Circle Assembly and the discussions that take place among so many other representatives of governments, of the private sector, of academia and of civil society about the future of this region. Moreover, it's a strategic opportunity for us to gather in preparation for the next UN Climate Change Conference to take place in Bonn, Germany in just a few weeks' time. And indeed, that conference will take place under the leadership of Fiji. And so I take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of Archbishop Peter Loy Chong of the Roman Catholic Church in Fiji, who is both a witness to us and I think an emissary from this conference back to his own government. Thank you for being with us. That also provides me with an opportunity to remark upon what an extraordinary ecumenical space we have physically expressed in this room, but also in general in terms of the work on climate change. I think there is hardly any other issue on which the World Council of Churches is currently engaged with such a close and intimate collaboration across all the church families and indeed with our interfaith partners as well. That is something to be celebrated, but it's also something urgently necessary in the context of the challenges that we face. This conference is convened under the title Just Peace with the Earth, which many of you will be aware is a reference derived from some of the workings of the World Council of Churches in recent years, since the International Ecumenical Peace Convocation, and in particular from the Statement on the Way of Just Peace adopted by the World Council of Churches 10th Assembly in Busan, South Korea in October-November 2013. The opening words of that statement are, and I quote them because I think they are inspirational, "Just peace is a journey into God's purpose for humanity and all creation." Indeed, the idea of just peace, as presented in this statement, is a multi-sectoral one. It has several different dimensions, but gathered together holistically in this term, just peace. Firstly, there is just peace in the community, so that all may live free from fear. Secondly, just peace with the earth, so that life is sustained. Thirdly, just peace in the marketplace, so that all may live with dignity. And fourthly, just peace among the nations, so that human lives are protected. Now, we meet under the rubric of the second dimension of just peace, so articulated. But it's important for us to remember that all of these dimensions must be held together in that concept of just peace, and that we have no just peace without all of them being addressed. And it is fairly obvious for me to build on the reference that N.R. Carl mentioned about the work of the World Council of Churches in the context of the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. Of course, there is no other weapon developed by humanity that is more destructive, not only of human life, but of the environment and the world as we know it, than nuclear weapons. So I take this opportunity also to celebrate the recognition of that work through the award of the Nobel Peace Prize this year. It is very relevant also to our work with regard to environment and climate change. So once again, I am extremely grateful for the initiative taken by the Church of Iceland to propose and offer this opportunity to explore this dimension of the way of just peace within that wider holistic framework, and to take the opportunity of the multi-sectoral gathering of the Arctic Circle Assembly to gather in this way. I was talking last night with N.R. Carl over dinner, and we were talking about the nature of the challenge that we face with regard to climate change and our current environmental challenges, something that the World Council of Churches has been working on for decades. Since the 70s, the World Council of Churches has been articulating the concept of sustainable communities, bringing the language of sustainability into the intergovernmental negotiations. And we have been present at every single UN climate change conference since the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change was adopted in 1992. We were very, very pleased when in 2015 Pope Francis presented his encyclical letter Laudato Si. We are very proud of the work that we have done for decades, and perhaps a little bit too proud, because our General Secretary, Dr. Tveit, was unable to resist tweeting that he welcomed Pope Francis in joining this movement, this ecumenical movement for just peace with the environment and addressing climate change. which the World Council of Churches has been working on for 30 years. My apologies, Archbishop Chong. But I think this only serves to underline again the larger space, ecumenical space, that we have together in this movement and in addressing this issue. Climate change is a truly global problem, a truly global challenge, the like of which we have not faced as humanity before. It will require truly global solutions, and therefore the focus on the intergovernmental processes and responses is key. The focus on national governmental policies to address the issue is key. But equally important, and this brings me to the point that Einar Karl and I were discussing last night, equally important, perhaps more important, are the choices and the actions that we, each of us, take as individuals and as families and as communities that collectively cause the problem, that collectively bring this challenge before us. It is sometimes disempowering to confront the enormity and the global dimensions of climate change. But as Ida Auken, who was then serving as Denmark's Minister for the Environment and Climate Change, once said to me, we shouldn't think about climate change so much as a global problem, but as a local problem everywhere. And I hope that's the perspective that we can bring into our discussions so that we empower ourselves, we empower our communities, we empower our churches, and ultimately our governments in responding to this millennial challenge. Thank you very much.